What's up, guys, and thanks for watching our Holiday Cartridge Talks series. We are excited to bring you our first ever limited edition Vortex Nation podcast hoodie. If you're watching on YouTube, it's the one I'm wearing right now. Now, we only made 99 of these things, so when they're gone, they are gone. Click the link in the description to get yours. Thanks again, and enjoy the show. Welcome back, everybody, to our Holiday Cartridge Talks, and nothing says the holidays like giving gifts, and this is our gift to you. Is it a gift if they've requested it a lot, Jim, or are you just giving them what they wanted?
I think this is one of those Christmas games like Bad Santa.
Okay. Regardless, here it is. This is the 7mm Rem Mag. Pretty long awaited for a lot of the listeners wondering, why the heck have we not done a cartridge talk on this phenomenal cartridge, Ryan?
Oh, he said it.
Because you can't give a lump of coal any other time of the year but Christmas.
Oh, you're just so sour.
This started as a regular cartridge talk, but today it's a lead balloon. Oh, I'm just kidding. Quit throwing tomatoes. They can't come through the screen anyway. It's a fine cartridge.
It only hurts you and your television.
It's
or
a
your
fine
computer.
cartridge. Mark,
Brian, I feel like you're really kind of
conceding
to Mark
here's
and
the
his
deal.
political correctness.
I'm not interested in a whole bunch of big jacked up trucks and big knobby tires on them rolling up here and a bunch of fellas beating the tar out of me while throwing Monster Energy drink at me.
Well, it's 'cause
We
you
got to
like,
talk about the 7 Rem Mag and
You
the
prefer
light.
a car truck.
Well, at least mine has tires that can go up and down a gravel driveway. But you wouldn't know what that is, Mark, because the roads
We
in
do
your
have
neighborhood
pavement.
are solid concrete, finished, and heated.
This is true. I
How'd you
might have
make
a
your
hard
millions,
time
Mark?
seeing you through those Oakley gas cans, though. At
That's
least.
true. That's true. As long as I operate at night, they can't see me.
I will say, like, you and I have both, for no good reason, thrown shade at the 7mm Rem Mag.
Oh,
And do you
there's
wanna-
reason.
Here's what I'll say. And my original reason is like so completely unfounded. I just didn't like for many years that it was metric. I didn't like the millimeters.
That's a whole other group of people. It's
It just sounded weird.
Take that.
It just
Europe.
sounded weird to me.
Oh,
You know what I
I
mean?
see.
I wasn't familiar with it. It seemed like an outsider, you know? You look at the numbers. It's a fantastic cartridge. This one we have in front of us here, this is a Hornady loading with their new CX bullet. I guess that kind of press time, fairly new bullet. A 150 grainer, cranking at 3,000 feet per second.
right in the pocket of 30-06 performance.
What?
Only with more powder and a belt and a pedigree.
Oh, my gosh.
And a pedigree that'll make you believe that nothing can stop it. It's a fine cartridge. At its introduction, what year was it, Mark? Remind me again. I don't know anything about it.
Is Ryan being passive-aggressive or just periodically aggressive here? Like, he's back and forth. He's like, no, it's fine, but you're an idiot.
It's kind of bipolar.
19
We're really up and down.
1962.
You were looking at my notes.
Yeah. Magnum Mania, right? There's a whole bunch of stuff on scene. I'm going to give some credit where credit is due to the Holland & Holland Corporation for bringing the word Magnum onto the hunting scene.
Dude,
and
it
from
sounds
that,
so good.
From that spawned so many tremendous cartridges. We had the Weatherby cartridges of the 1940s. Of course, we had a Holland Super 30. We had the Winchester Magnums, the Remington Magnums. A whole smattering of stuff comes on scene wearing the iconic belt at the cartridge web. It inspires power, strength, gusto.
A normal case couldn't hold this power in. This one needs a belt.
That's right.
Guts, glory, ram.
I mean, I do remember.
With the toe
do.
mirrors.
Yeah, exactly.
I do remember hearing belted Magnum.
Yeah.
Not even knowing what the belted means, but it just sounds like more.
Oh, it does.
At the time, 1962, remind us all, it was a force multiplier to be reckoned with. Fast, flat shooting, hard hitting.
That's what everybody wanted.
because-
They wanted it to shoot as flat as possible.
Yes.
I mean, the parent case is like a 375 H&H, right?
you cut down. Yep.
Or, yeah.
Yep.
But
Yep. So, yes. That is a safe statement.
I mean, that's a big case.
It's a grande.
Like you said, it's cut down.
It is. It's shortened, but retains that vestigial belt.
Mm-hmm.
Modern shoulder angle, body taper. At the time, when you compare it to like a 300 Holland, which looks like an asparagus sprig,
Right.
This is a pretty fast.
Well, and we've covered it a million times.
Yeah.
The belt was for
headspace.
Okay. Now here's what okay.
And strength, power.
Yeah.
But now, does it even serve a purpose? The belt?
Actually, yeah,
It does.
still headspace.
Okay.
If you get a headspace gauge for a belted Magnum, it's this long.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
Was part of the original reinforcement in that area or not?
It's a talking point, but it's
Okay.
headspace.
Okay.
Yeah.
how is it that the case can be that big and it's only pushing that thing 3,000 feet per second?
That's the great secret, Jim.
I mean, I look at that thing and I expect it should be launching a 150 grain projectile at like Mach 7. It's huge.
$3,000 is pretty fast.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that that's not fast, but now
Not many years prior, we breached the commercial 3,000 foot per second mark with a cartridge called the 250-3000 Savage, firing an 87 grain projectile. And I'm not saying that's what kicked it off, but that helped. And boom, here we have a high caliber, heavyweight projectiles moving at warp speed. $3,000's fast.
Well,
it is.
Yeah.
It is.
and we've talked about this a million times,
Yeah.
but also at that time and a long time after, we didn't have fancy rangefinders. Not the only way, but a very effective way to increase your effective range was velocity.
Yep, flatten your trajectory.
Mhm.
And at that time, telescopic weapon sights were not necessarily standard issue.
And nowhere near what they are today.
No. A hunter
Not even.
might be in the field with a 6-power system. Might be.
Well, and you've got a reticle that's made out of like
Spider
uncooked
silk.
spaghetti noodles.
Yes.
And I mean, yeah, it's just it was nothing near what it was today. But I can see how this thing was absolutely just the cat's meow when it came out. I can totally see that.
Fact. Yes.
But I guess, I mean, just when you think about what's around today, it's sort of like,
It falls right in the pocket.
yeah.
It's a great cartridge. It really is. I mean that. To those of you listening that are half-cocked, it's a fine cartridge. It's a great cartridge. It's killed more things than I will if I started right now every day hunting for the rest of my life, every day.
Right.
It's been heralded as a phenomenal Western state cartridge for game like pronghorn and mule deer, even elk with the right projectile. It certainly has hunted Africa ad nauseum. A phenomenal plains game cartridge, and with the right bullet, it's a very viable large deer cartridge.
I mean, I do feel like it falls within kind of like this bucket or bracket of cartridges that all make a very fine do-all.
Yes.
And they might have, like a plus here and this attribute, and this one has, a plus here and this attribute, but you pick any of them up, and they're probably going to do everything you need them to do.
Correct. And one thing I'll say about it, my original gripes are there might have been some people early on in my career that touted it as something far greater than it in fact was. Compared to some of the other bonkers magnums that are out there, it's actually providing the performance values we're searching for without having to get into a full-length H&H case, and with that, all the recoil.
I was going to say, you're going to have some reduced recoil with this as well.
Comparatively, yes. So it is bringing a lot to the table, and it is a great cartridge. And it came at a time for us as Americans in the American firearms manufacturing company or history, some of the best we've ever done. Right, so child of the early '60s. It caught on in Europe. It seems to me like every older Sacco that comes in the door is chambered in 7 Rem Mag. And I love it because I have to imagine, and this could be completely something I've conjured up in my head, a Finnish or European hunter going down and picking up their first Sacco, and it's chambered in 7 Rem Mag, and they have illusions of cowboys and muscle cars, and I hope that's how it went. I might just be completely...
Something like what you see on the box of modern Hornady Superformance.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like I have the 7mm Remington Magnum. It's made it across the Atlantic onto our shores, but now we dominate the forests here.
The pickup truck. Of
that is what I hope.
I wouldn't ask the question though.
No,
'Cause you don't want to.
might be a little offensive.
I would not that. I just sometimes it's good to keep the dream alive. You know what I mean? Like is this? And they're like no, and you're like cripes. But yes, Ryan, a Magnum cartridge.
It is
with less recoil.
Yep.
More shootable.
Mm-hmm.
I know a person that happens to tout shootability a lot.
Pretty bonkers about it.
Yeah.
Is it? I mean, when I look at this thing, I don't see low recoil.
Comparatively, like you grab some big 7s and some bigger 30s.
Yeah.
And 7s and 30s play well together. 7s are generally observed as having an advantage in ballistic coefficient, ergo trajectory, retained velocity, etc. 30s win out in mass. Because it isn't a full-length H&H case. So think like 300 Weatherby or 300 Rum, which is not a H&H based case, but it's large. 7 Rum, etc. It's checking the boxes without having to get you in there. And the bullet palette from factory offerings, 120 grains to 160 grains, everything you want to do from, I guess you could hunt coyotes with it, pronghorn on up. And with modern bullets, I think there's nothing in North America, maybe short of big bears. I don't hunt big bears, so I wouldn't really be the leading expert on that. Nothing you couldn't do with it. I think where the bad raps came when we were pushing things faster than the bullet technology allowed us to do.
That's an interesting thing I didn't think about.
Yeah. And I think that's where I've talked to like outfitters that have been, especially like elk guides that have been doing this for a lot. Our very own Paul Neese was a guide for many, many, many years. One of the outfitters he worked for forbode 7mm Remington in the camp.
Were they having issues with closer range shots?
Yes. And so that isn't the fault of the cartridge, it's the fault of the projectile technology
Right.
at the time. Because it is a lot of cartridge to contend with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's that. And when you're reading, conventional wisdom at a period of time said the only way you can successfully kill something is if you dump all the energy into that thing. And so you need this bullet that's going to never go through the other side. And that's not untrue, right? There's some merit to that. So long as the bullet gets into the good stuff.
Right.
Yeah. And maybe that's where some of the egg on the face that I have for the cartridge came from. I don't actually really feel that way. When you take this round and you give it the bullet it deserves in the rifle that it deserves, it does exceptional things.
So what is the bullet it deserves? Talk about that.
So for me, it's a projectile in that 145 to 160-ish class range that's seated longer out so that I can exploit the cartridge case capacity that it has. It's a tougher bullet. I don't like these lighter frangible, styles of bullets. It's a bullet that if I front shoulder a large cervid, it's going to make it at least to the other shoulder, if not the other side. That'd be really cool if it went all the way out. And you're pushing it to the capacity of the case, like what it can handle and what it can yield. And we just did a side by side with 7 Rem Mag and 7 PRC, and the two are so close.
Really?
Oh, I would call them otherwise interchangeable. If we could remove the acronyms on the back of them, and it's just 7, and you ran them through everything, and you ran all the numbers, and you tell us, they'd basically be the same picture. Corporate would want to say, hey, what's the difference between these pictures? They're the same picture. The 7 PRC is offering all those things that I just talked about, what I think the cartridge deserves and what it's capable of in a factory solution, which is something of great merit. So now you don't have to hand load that cartridge to the capacity it deserves. You don't need a custom throated rifle to the capacity it deserves. And actually a lot of those rifles are throated to handle that anyway. Maybe twist rate, right? Modern 7s though, modern 7 Rem Mags, most of these are coming with faster twist rates than years past. So 1 and 9, 1 and 9.5 instead of a 1 and 10, even into the 1 and 8s. So that you can eat those heavyweight, long profile projectiles, especially in like a copper, where we're getting a really long bullet.
But how far can you seat this bullet out?
That's contingent on the gun. So
right, but like factory gun, nothing fancy. I bought a 7 Rem Mag.
3.340. Yeah.
Because you got to still stick within the magazine and everything, right?
Yes, but gun dependent. So certain guns are going to handle that better than others.
Okay.
Right? So individual results may vary. But it is a wonderful chassis to build off of. Brass availability is everywhere. Component availability is everywhere. It's one of the most popular cartridges for big game hunting of all time. And rightly so.
So your beef with it was more grandfathered in from times.
I think it's just like
It seems like modern day technology has actually caught up with what this could have been capable with when they originally came out with it. It sounds like
well. So at the time, 1960s, it was mostly unrivaled.
Right.
But
what? It's just it was unrivaled at the time, but still, its potential was not reached.
Correct. Yeah. And then, by the late 70s, early 80s, other cartridges came out that were more efficient. Bullet technology caught up. And we had offerings that were emulating the performance, smaller, lighter packages.
Right.
Right. Some of the gusto still stuck to it, and folks were positive that there was nothing that even contended with it. But in reality, it's very similar to cartridges like 708, 280 Remington, 30-06. They're all very, very, very close. But it is, like I said, it's a wonderful rolling chassis to build off of because it does contain a great deal of potential. And again, more likely misunderstandings as to what, like if you're shooting the wrong bullet out of anything, it doesn't make a hill of beans difference, right?
Right. Yeah, that's not unique to this cartridge.
No, not at all. So long as it's contended with appropriately, it's a monster of a cartridge.
One little factoid that I'm big on sectional density lately, Ryan.
Yeah.
This cartridge, compared to like a 30 cal, like an 06 or 300 or something like that, is going to have a higher sectional density.
Yes.
Equating to penetration.
Yes.
What it says here in my notes for a 308 diameter bullet to have the same sectional density as the 284 of the 7 Rem Mag.
In what grain weight?
I'm assuming 160.
Yeah.
It would have to be a 206 grain
Sure.
projectile
Yeah.
in that 308, which that's a big pill.
That's an interesting footnote. The number of loadings that were sold in a 160 grain projectile, abysmal. Very few.
Really?
Yeah. 120, 140, 150. The 160 flat base Spitzer, the 150 boat tail soft points. Did I say 150 or 160? 160s.
160.
I'm trying to say. Not a lot of folks were selling those. When I was selling 7 Rem Mag, and it was one of the more popular centerfire cartridges that ran through the shop that I worked at, 120, 140, 150 at the top end.
What are those 120s cooking at?
Fast. 32. They're moving. Okay. They're moving.
Wow. Yeah.
Zipping. And, it's fine for whitetails, pronghorn.
Oh, yeah.
We'll talk about a Sage Flat King.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I bet it was dropping them critters like lightning.
Oh, yeah. Velocity kills. It's a great cartridge.
Why is it that nowadays, like when you said, I'm still going back to like when you said that thing pushing 3,000 feet per second, are we already at the point where I'm like, meh?
Getting over that threshold is hard.
It is.
And then maintaining sanity over that threshold is harder. So it's a really interesting spot to be, and to go over it in like a bullet diameter, say greater than 6 millimeter, you're packing on pounds of recoil.
Yeah.
Pounds. And it seems like an innocuous number, but it's gargantuan. I mean, it really is. Once you get there, things get rough.
Yeah.
Can get rough.
It does seem like that, 29 to
I'd say
31,
yeah,
maybe 32 is just kind of that sweet spot for a lot of really effective cartridges.
Yeah.
that I'd say fall more on this range.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of
I was going to say, I'm thinking of my 300 Win Mag right now, 190 grain Barnes LRXs, mid 29s. That is about as much as I want to shoot out of that gun before it's. And then I have a 300 Weatherby, which is a 180 at 32 and change. That gun is just the worst. It just is. It's just the worst.
Do you still own that gun?
Oh yeah.
Why do you own that gun? You bring it up all the time. You're like, I used it. I didn't care for it, and this is why. And then you always compare things to it, and yet you still own it.
Classic example of over-indexing on something. I hated that cartridge, this cartridge, so bad. I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to run a 7 Rem Mag. So what did I do?
You got something worse.
What's bigger, kicks more expensive to shoot. You wear 2 pairs of those glasses that you were talking about. 300 Weatherby.
Well, and also, I feel like a lot of, you were talking about outfitters, like, oh, I'm not going to allow the 7 Rem Mag. I think a lot of outfitters were saying, no, I do allow that because it's a Magnum cartridge with, Magnum type performance. But again, that shootability factor coming into play. So they're, the pendulum swings that way too.
Sure does. Sure does. I don't think that the old 7 Rem Mag's going anywhere soon. Because there's a lot of folks that are out there running it. I mean, a lot of folks.
Oh, since 1962.
So many.
Yeah. I think that my hope is, and it's happening. So like the Browning X-Bolt's a great example. Very feature-laden gun. Modern twist rates. Accommodating up-to-date loadings and advanced loadings.
Right.
For this cartridge. And really leaning into it and kicking up steam where it deserves it. I think it'll hang out for a long time. 7 PRC is going to take a big old bite out of it.
Right.
I think moving forward, there's a reason why that same gun you were talking about also comes in 7 PRC.
Yep.
We have them both in this room here, actually, somewhere. But
7 Rem Mag.
Like
it's a fine cartridge.
Guns and corners of things.
All right.
Do we have to keep talking about it?
No, we can be done, Ryan.
Because this Band-Aid pulled off.
Yeah,
you were remarkably civil.
He started.
You've
off
made
a
me.
little.
You made me think that it was so terrible, and now all of a sudden I'm hearing.
Here's the thing, and I think about this a lot.
What I just saw is like when your dad's like, "Don't drink alcohol, you'll die," and then all of a sudden you get older and your dad's like having a whiskey, and you're like, "What the hell's going on here?" Dad, are you gonna die?
I have. I guess an attraction to older rifles of excellent quality. Whether it's for the nostalgic purposes or they're just guns were built different back then. That's true. I had a Sacco come in the other day. The gun looked unfired. And vintage Sacco, 7 Rem Mag. I set it up with a beautiful set of tally rings, and we put Viper HSL, or no, we put a Razor LHT 3 to 15 by 50 on there. Yep, family rifle. It was grandfather's, and it was a father's, and it was a son's. And I'm asking myself as I'm setting this up, is this a 7 Rem Mag that I would own? And I looked at it, and I'm like, well, they also chambered these in 338 Win Mag, which I don't have. It's a good cartridge. 300 Win Mag, which I do have, still a great cartridge. Is that the 7 Rem Mag that I'm on? And for the past, I don't know, a couple months, I've been running through my head, what 7 Rem Mag would I own? And I haven't answered the question yet. I've been easily stumped. 338 Win Mag, I can answer that question like 7 times.
What are you getting a 338 in?
Oh, if I was going to get one right now, like if I could have my pick of the letter, Model 70 Alaskan. Yeah. Or a Ruger with a Zytel stock, which I detest, but there's something innately fascinating about it with the iron sights, not the slick barrel. I want the iron sights. A Sacco, a classic Remington.
For some reason, I was looking at 375s with irons this morning.
Why not?
I'm not hunting dangerous game very often, Ryan.
Hey, that's a cartridge for another day.
Yeah, maybe you should.
Yeah, maybe you should. But I haven't picked a 7 Rem Mag yet. You know what'll happen to me? I did buy a 270 the other day. Oh, I did.
Well, I want to hear more about this.
I'll find the gun, and it'll have everything that I want. And it'll say 7 Rem Mag on it, and I'll be like, I cannot tell my friends about this. And I'll buy it.
See, there he goes
Everybody's got one or two of those guns and they're safe.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
As long as my friends don't know I have this,
Yeah.
I can secretly enjoy it to myself.
I don't know what it'll be. Maybe it'll be a first-year production Model 700. I really do like old 700s. But I don't know.
Maybe it'll be never.
But I don't know.
Maybe it'll be never.
Stay tuned to find out.
Yeah. Will Ryan ever get a 7 Rem Mag? I mean, I don't know. Well, oftentimes I'm like, oh, you'll get one eventually. I'm like, I don't know.
Well, okay. Another thing I just want to say real quick. I also kind of want a gun in 7 Rem Mag from the late 70s to early 80s when guys running around in wool hunting camo. You know the guy I'm talking about. Tight beard, wool hunting camo.
Ryan, I'm old enough that when I got my first set of wool pants, I was high-tech, technical clothing hunting.
And that was in probably what? Mid-80s? Late 80s?
No doubt Mark has always
late
been in the most
80s
high-tech
probably.
stuff you can find.
Yeah. I think an A-bolt, I can't believe I'm going to say it. An A-bolt stalker with a boss.
Oh, I don't know.
That checks all the boxes. There's a historical significance to that gun, that chambering, that era, that gun on scene. People like the Browning A-bolt. That is
Yeah, but then you do get that gun in 338.
no. I think that thing screams to me 7 Rem Mag.
Oh, interesting.
It really does, and it fits. The Sacco, they were all chambered in it seemed, but it just didn't fit conceptually with me. That gun, we have a game. They come into the mounting room.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Jordan and I especially. Jim, I've got a A-bolt stalker. It's got a boss. What caliber is it? And he just doesn't even look up. Twisting screws. He goes, 7 Rem Mag. You got it. I think that'll be it. What the heck am I going to do with that thing?
Maybe it's fit. Maybe that's the right fit.
Maybe. I'll keep my eyes open.
All right. Well,
7 Rem Mag. Done talking about it.
That's it. We won't make you do this anymore.
Merry Crisis.
Merry Christmas.
I know how much it pains you. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Will Ryan ever get a 7 Rem Mag? We'll see. I'm not banking on it. And until next time, we'll catch you on the next one. Happy holidays. I wonder what cartridge we're going to talk about next. Find out tomorrow. Bye, everybody. Bye.